Hey, this is Corey Barnes.
And this is Lisa Caperton, and you're listening to Her Turn to Talk.
What's new in your world?
I've been reading a lot.
Yeah? I think you said that last time. What have you read new?
Yes, I've read 3 books now since June 26th. I read Glennon Doyle's Untamed. Mm-hmm. I read Sarah Gilbert's City of Girls. And then I just finished Don't Say Anything by... Hold on, I'll look him up real quick. Parks. His name's Parks. Somebody Parks. It was a thriller, a mystery.
Was it good?
Yes, it was very good. All of those books were very good. Parks. Brad Parks. Highly recommended. Say Nothing. That's what it was.
Say Nothing. I finally started my Where the Crawdads Sing, but I'm not very far into it yet. But
what do you think so far? I took it off my list.
Oh, really? Why? I heard
the reviews were weird.
No, I'm not very far into it yet.
Mixed. I'm getting mixed reviews.
Mixed reviews. Okay. I will let you know. I don't know yet. I will.
But I've been really enjoying that, and I was reading I Googled the benefits of reading, and there was all kinds of great things like helps with depression.
Yeah.
Strengthens the brain, increases empathy, builds vocabulary, prevents cognitive decline, reduces stress. Aids sleep. Yes, I've slept very well. Alleviates depression. Not even helps. Lengthens lifespan, so I will live longer now. Better writing skills, mental stimulation, memory improvement. Look at all those things. My goodness.
Reading is for everyone. Look at that. Everyone should be reading.
Wow. Well, it's real nice right now. I don't know. And I'm able to, I like having it in my hand. I focus in on it. Yeah. And I just kind of get lost in it, and I forget about all the worries in the world, you know?
Yes. Well, that is nice. It's nice to have that distraction. And I guess it gives your brain, that opportunity to create the world, somebody else created it, but you get to envision it in your own head instead of just being in front of the TV where it's done for you.
Yeah, I love it. I've watched less TV, hardly any.
I've been watching less TV. Watch some at night. I'm trying to even think. I'm like, what have I watched lately? I'm like, I don't even know. Mm-hmm. Nothing is standing out that is super good that I'm like, oh, you should watch this, Yeah. Actually, I did watch, I think we may have talked about that, the Zac Efron show, new show on Netflix, where he's traveling around the world, going to different places. It's pretty interesting.
All I heard was that he's got a dad bod, whatever that means.
I don't even know what they're talking about because he looks good. And I was like, oh, wow, he looks like a man. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, I don't feel like a creeper, looking at him because
I met him in 6th grade.
You did?
Yeah, I have a picture of me and Zac Efron somewhere.
Oh my gosh, he's your friend.
He came to this party in Peabody. I don't even know why he came. I have no idea.
Oh my gosh, it's funny. Well, on the show, it's they go to different places all around the world, and it's they're talking about different things like environmental sustainability type things from the different places in the world are doing different things, and how all these different places a lot of them are doing things much better than how we do them here. And one thing I didn't know when we had visited Paris, I remember seeing they have water fountains just kind of everywhere. They have fountains that are for art, right? But then they have water drinking fountains. And we purposely went and bought bottled water, but apparently now after watching that show, I learned that they have some of the best water in the world. They have this very high tech way of purifying their water without using chemicals like we do here in the US. And that it's it's a staple for them and a priority for them to have good drinking water for everybody. It's a right that everybody should have access. So that's why they have all of these drinking fountains everywhere. And that even the water in the art fountains could be drank as well. And then they even have like dispensers where they carbonate some of the water. So you could basically get free Perrier from like where, you just go take your bottles and fill them up so you can choose, and you can get non-carbonated or carbonated water. I was
Cool.
like, I wish I would have known that while you were there.
I know.
But
I know.
anyways.
It was just brought to my attention, speaking of overseas, my father mentioned that New Zealand barely has any COVID cases.
Oh yeah, they like pretty much almost eradicated it there.
Yeah, and it's been like 1,500 cases, and then 1,500 cured.
Yeah, they really like lock stuff down, and if you look
22
back,
deaths. That's it.
Yeah.
I asked Travis. I said, "Why is that? How is that so?"
Well,
know?
they were very aggressive on locking stuff down, and like how we talked to Tracy before, they just did things and put life above economy, and they did it from the get-go, right in the very beginning. And that was a whole thing when all this first started. There were all these articles coming out because their leader is actually a woman, and they were talking about like there was another country. I don't know if it was Germany. I don't know why I want to say it was, but there was another country that had a woman leader, and they were like some of doing the best as far as numbers go. And they were like, look at the women, the country that are being led by women are doing so great. But yeah.
Huh. I have a friend that lives there in New Zealand. I'm going to reach out.
But they're an island, right? So that's part of it, right? So that helps. So, maybe
we can have her on, my friend Emily. I'm going to.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I got lots of questions. I literally just within the past hour got that information, and so I'm curious. Our guest today, Raven.
Raven, I know. So Raven, did you get a chance to look at her website?
Oh, yes, I did.
Did you order any products yet?
Not yet. Yet being the key word. There was all kinds of cool stuff. And then I was like, I want to start selling sex toys, I think.
Well, so Raven actually, so she's an entrepreneur. She's a structural engineer also, but then she, I guess, kind of got into that business because she started out selling sex toys like as like a part-time job as in sales.
Yeah.
And then she's already an engineer. So then it's like, oh, well, I can make these products even better, right? And so we'll get to learn about that. But I'm excited about that. And she's a CEO. She's the founder of Ingranautics. That's how you Ingranautics. So it's like a combination of engineer and erotics combined there, selling sex toys, and as well as, I guess, I'm not sure if the cannabis thing is a new thing for her, but she's like selling CBD lotions and things like that. So I'm also interested to find out, like, I've heard people using CBD for relaxation purposes, giving it to your animals for stress, to help them stay calm, things like that. But I never thought about like putting it into like a lube or something like that.
I want to. Is it for? I was it says it's an oil. I don't know if it's a lube.
Well, I actually watched a video where she talked about there's some kind of hoops you have to jump through to call it a lube, I guess. Huh. But that it can be so it's called an oil, massaging oil, but it is safe to be used.
Oh, cool.
And I think that's another thing with her products too, is that she's using high quality, like, it's they're all like hypoallergenic products, right? Yeah.
And they all sound delicious. There's all kinds of different flavors here. The one that just came out was, I just saw it. It wasn't elderberry, but it sounded really good, delicious. There's all kinds of different flavors. And
I believe she's like won some awards with these products. At some of these trade shows and different things. So that's pretty cool.
We'll certainly learn more about that. I can't wait to ask. Creme brulee, tropical escape, lavender chamomile, and jasmine temptation.
Ooh, I like that one too.
Did you buy anything?
I have. No, I'm the same thing as you, but
I'm interested in these wands. These giant wands, they're huge.
I
I
know.
don't know though. Like,
Well, I wonder, we should ask her. I wonder if she does parties with her own product, like comes in and sells them. I've only been to I think I've only been to 2 of these sex toy parties, and they were both like bachelorette parties, and then that's the only times I've ever been there.
There's one called the Manta Man Tool.
I like it.
It looks like a lobster claw. It's quite intriguing. Oh, so this will be a fun show today.
I'm getting ready for Jacob starts school in like less than 2 weeks now.
Is he going into school?
No, nobody's going into school right now.
Yeah, what's the update on that? So
they're all
going to school.
Well, not nobody, but most of the schools have gone. At least they're going online at least till after Labor Day. They're saying at the moment. Ryan, we signed him up for online school at a completely different online school, so he will be online all year, no matter what. It was just kind of the best pick for us because with him, he needs that structure of like, we're going to start the year and this is how it's going to be. And instead of having to go like back and forth, we just wanted it to be like, okay, we're just going to tough it out and do this year online. So he's signed up for that. But Jacob's school will start online and then they'll reevaluate, I guess, and let us know after Labor Day. But even if it does come back after Labor Day, it would still be like that hybrid format. It's not like they're going to go right back. There we go.
Raven, hi.
How are you? How are you?
I'm tired. The pandemic is really draining. Kids are really draining. Everything's draining, but I'm good considering the circumstances. So
your bed is luxurious and beautiful.
Thank you. It's the only place where I get space during the day away from the kids. So this is like I don't really have I don't have an office space in the house. So this is like where it goes down whenever I need a moment to do stuff like this. So yeah.
I'm locked in my guest room on the floor, so I totally understand.
It's like you've been there.
I was talking to someone else today and she was like, oh, I'm in my closet in my room because it's the only place I have to go. I'm like, I totally get it. Wherever you got to be.
It is, modern problems call for modern solutions. And it's not like I just get to like take phone calls in the middle of the living room with the little ones running around. So yeah. So, and it's good that this is a podcast because, I can just be comfortable and not have to worry about wearing makeup or anything. So
exactly. That's the best thing.
It's the best thing about doing podcasts. Like I've done a few video interviews. I'm like, all right, I got to get camera ready. Okay. But podcast is like, I just need to sound awake and coherent. And that's really all that's required.
Yeah. Yes. No pants needed. No.
Exactly.
I actually have no pants on right now. I'm just kidding.
And that's all right. That's totally okay. I mean, my youngest hates clothes and she's always trying to take her pants off. She's 1.5. So, I mean, but I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. Like, I don't want to wear a bra. I barely want to wear clothes. Like, I just, why? For why? Like, why?
Yeah, we call my youngest is he's 12, but we call him Hugh Hefner around our house because if we're at home, he just walks around in his underwear and his robe. And he has
That's awesome.
He just rotates his robes, and I'm like, whatever, just be comfortable. We're like on days that he doesn't get dressed, we're like, you did it. Like, congratulations, you made it the whole day and didn't put pants on. Like, good job.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to, at some point this will end. And I'm like, do I really feel like I need to wear a bra out in society? Like, I really don't. Like, I haven't really been, it's like, if it like, I'll wear a sports bra, like, but I've got all these nice bras in my drawer and, there's not a breast in sight that cares to fill their cups. Like, I'm just like done. No, thank you.
I feel like that's the case for many of us now.
Oh gosh. It's like, everything is kind of flipped on its head right now. And it's been an experience, that's for sure. So yeah, mean, I'm doing as best I can considering the circumstances. I'm doing well, but yeah, it's, it's draining. It takes a lot of, like, even the little things, like, to, have meetings and stuff like that. I'm just like, whew, okay, that was a long day. And it's like 11 o'clock in the morning and, just things like that. So it's just it's a whole different dynamic, just, parenting during the pandemic, running a business during the pandemic. Yeah.
And do you run two? So you're a structural engineer, correct?
Yep. Yes,
and
that's
you're
correct.
an entrepreneur. Are you an entrepreneur with two businesses?
Yeah, I own and run two businesses. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I sure do.
Busy.
Well, I thought that I was busy before this and then COVID, and I'm like, holy hell, like, what have I done to myself? Like, it's not like okay, I have this business plan for the pandemic. I mean, like, none of us knew that this is where we were going to be at. And so, so here I am with two littles, and, my husband's been at home since March, and two companies that I own and run. Engirotics is like on the cusp of just like, blowing up, and Faber Anderson Development and Design is about to do its thing as well. Like, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And I'm really thankful. I'm really humbled. I'm very excited. But man, I'm just like, geez, like, can I get a minute to just, to relax? But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And, I do what I do because I love it, and I'm good at it. So, I didn't know I was quite as good at building businesses as I am, but there it is. I mean, that's what I do. Two businesses, two kids.
That's a great thing to be good at.
It's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing and a curse. Like, it's like being on the entrepreneurial path it's not for the faint of heart at all. It is not like, it takes you on some emotional highs and some real low emotional valleys. Like, it is a whirlwind of emotional process, and because you have so much put into it and you have a lot of skin in the game, and it's like, I don't need to worry about being fired, and but it's like I have other things that I need to worry about. So I mean, there's a lot of people, they'll talk about, I want to start a business. Like, I'm going to, start this company. I'm going to do this thing. And there goes my kids in the background. I don't know what happened this time. I want to start this business. I want to do this thing. And then, in most cases, that's where people stop. And then other people kind of get into it and they're like, oh yeah, no, not doing this. And then there's people like me that are, maybe borderline insane. I mean, I don't know, like, it's just, it's just so strange. It's almost like I tell people that, I mean, I didn't pick this, like, this picked me, like, it just, and I fully believe that, when you're on the right path and you're living your truth, doors open. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's most certainly not, but it's like, you don't have to force it, the way that you would if you were in a situation like, oh, I got to make this work. Like, and it's just like everything's working against you. Like, in my experience, there's a certain level of flow. I mean, somebody gave me $2,000 yesterday. Like, somebody donated $2,000 to Engirotics.
What?
Yeah. What? Not invested. They donated. Like, just craziness. So this happened. Like, so I got the money yesterday, and the day before yesterday, I got this phone call out of the blue, and I missed the call. There was this voicemail, and it went something along the lines of like, hey, I'm sorry this is so random. I know we've never met each other, but heard about you via 303 magazine. Another friend of mine told me about Engirotics, and I wanted to reach out and see if we could help support your business. And I'm like, oh, well, how nice. That's really cool. So I call her back, and we got to talking, and, she was explaining to me that, they had done this big fundraiser shortly after George Floyd was killed. And it was a fundraiser for the businesses on that street where he was killed because they took a hit. And so she was focusing on raising money for, minority-owned businesses in the beauty community And I'm trying to remember the name. Like, this is all just so like new. I'm like still processing it. But anyway, so they raised something like $25,000, and she's telling me all about that. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I thought she was calling me because she was we're going to do this fundraiser, because she'd mentioned, oh, well, we had such success with this fundraiser. Now we want to give to the local Denver community and help a bunch of those businesses out. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. If you want to raise money, like, yeah, we're bootstrapped. We don't have any investors. Like, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, oh, no. I don't think you understand. We already raised the money. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you called me up in the middle of the day. You've never met me. You've never tried our products. You called me in the middle of the day to ask me if I want money. And she's like, girl, yes, that's why I'm calling you. And I'm like, well, I'm not trying to be rude, but I mean, you have to forgive my skepticism. I mean, like, who, like, what? Like, so I talked to my husband about it, and, and it's like, I'm a really intuitive person, and I really believe in leading with intuition and gut feel in business. And I'm an engineer, so logic, numbers, facts, like, those are very important. That there's something to be said about, okay, even though the numbers add up and it says this, if you don't feel good about the situation surrounding the numbers, it could be an acquisition merger, it could be any number of things in which the numbers look favorable, but the feeling doesn't jive with, and so admittedly, I'm, talking to this woman, during my conversation with her, none of my usual alarm bells went off, like none of them. And I was like, okay, so either I'm broken or I'm sick. Maybe it's COVID. I don't know. But nothing about the situation really read as dangerous to me. Like, it seems like, and I'm talking to my husband, and I was like, okay, here is where you tell me, like, don't go, don't do this. Somebody's going to steal your kidney. And, so my husband's like, well, if it feels good, if it feels right, do it. You've got a good head on your shoulders. Like, do your due diligence. I'd taken all of her information. Do your due diligence. And if it feels right, do it. And I'm like, okay, and so I thought about it, looked up her organization, looked up this fundraiser, looked at, Instagram and everything. Everything was as she said it was. And I'm like, okay, all right, I was like, okay, I'll meet you. Let's go grab something to eat. And so we we got together. This was last night, and we got drinks and something to eat in Arvada. And, we had a really great conversation, and we had a lot in common. And I told her all about engineered erotics, brought her like a goodie bag full of stuff. Cause I'm thinking, okay, well, if she's donating to the company, I should give her some free stuff. Right. And so, everything is great. And then, the bill comes, we pay the bill, and we're getting ready to go. And she pulls out this envelope, and she hands it to me, and I take the envelope, and man, it's thick. It's got some weight. And I'm like, what now? And, and I mean, I knew what this was about. And she said, this is $2,000. This is $2,000 cash. And it's for you to do whatever you need to do in your business, to pay your people, to launch product, to catch up on bills, whatever it is you need to do. There are no strings attached. There are no expectations. Like, this is just for you because, your business really resonated with me and what we raised this money for. I mean, wow.
That's amazing.
I still have both kidneys.
It wasn't amazing.
There are good people in the world. And the funny thing is that, prior to that phone call, like 2 nights before that, like, I was raised Catholic, and my mom still practices Catholicism. And I've since kind of gotten away from the church, but I very much believe in, like, I'm spiritual. And I very much believe in, the power of prayer and meditation, and I believe that we do, we have more power than we believe. Like, we have more power than we think, and really a lot of the times we can't get ahead. This is certainly not the case across the board, but in many instances, like, if we can't like get to the next level, like sometimes it's us getting in our own way. So, you know, 2 nights prior to that phone call, I had really like, you know, July was like a stressful ball of just, it was productive, but man, I didn't have like, I was just go the entire time. And so, you know, 2 nights before this happened, you know, I was like, well, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to, you know, reflect. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to just relax, and I'm going to get crystal clear on where I want to go and what my goals are for my personal life and my professional life. And, you know, one of my goals is like, you know, I got to get some more money in the business bank account, because we have things that we need to do. You know, we don't have investors, not that I'm clamoring to be on the investor path. But it's different when you're bootstrapping, because every dollar really does count. And so I'm like focusing on that, more money in the bank, more, like more profit, more revenue, more happiness, you know, more fulfillment, just more, like, you know. And then, you know, 2 days later, I get this call in the middle of the day saying, hey girl, you want some money? Because I got some money for you. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, like, come through, universe, come on through, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
when the universe guides, the universe provides.
It's craziness, you know, it is just, you know, it really amazed me, because that was a really selfless thing. $2,000.
Yeah.
You know, and I know for like, you know, if you like, I don't know, you called, you know, the CEO or founder of a big, you know, $1 million corporation, hey, do you want $2,000? I mean, that's like, you know, no, thank you. We've got plenty. Like for me though, I mean, you know, $2,000 may as well be $1 million, because, you know, when you're a bootstrap startup, I mean, it's like, you know how to budget, you know how to live, you know how to operate on a shoestring budget, and to take something from nothing. I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. My mom was a single mother of 3 kids, me and my 2 younger brothers, for a long time. And so we didn't have much. And I mean, there were people in the family that had money, but that doesn't necessarily, just because somebody in the family has money doesn't mean you have money. And so there was some of that. So my mom we didn't really have money. We didn't go on vacations, you know, things like that. And so like when you grow up like that and you live on less, and, you know, you learn a thing or two, like when you're poor, like you learn a few things, like as opposed to having been born into the world and, you know, everything that you want is given to you. I mean, like I didn't learn how to snowboard until I was 18, you know, it wasn't like, it's expensive, you know, you got to get, even just to rent the equipment, you know, you still got to get a lift ticket, you got to get lessons. And then, you know, getting up to the mountain and spending gas. And then it's like, I was the only one who really, you know, kind of wanted to learn. And my 2 brothers were like, you know, so, yeah. So it's like, I got to college and, you know, I went to CU Boulder, you know, hey, yeah, I'm going to learn how to snowboard. So, you know, but, you know, as opposed to like, you know, my husband, you know, he grew up in the mountains. And, you know, he started learning how to ski and snowboard at like 5 or 6. And it's just like when it's there and it's accessible to you, it's like a much different, you know, and I told him, I was like, you know, I never thought I would learn anything about, because it wasn't accessible. So, you know, when things aren't accessible to you and you can't get them quite as easily, you know, you look at the world a little bit differently. And so that's what it's like to, you know, be a bootstrapped startup founder. It's definitely interesting because I keep a close eye on my ledger and I'm like, how much money do we have in there today? So yeah, so it's quite an adventure. Yeah.
What a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift to get that monies, and then what a gift to be able to be doing this. This is, you know,
it's cool.
Like you said, it chose you. I understand what that's like. I own a business myself. And, you know, just listening to you, I'm reminded so much of myself. And I love hearing that, you know, you take time to kind of ask, you know, just kind of think and get clear about what you want. And then look, when you get clear about it, it comes to you, you know, effortlessly.
My husband doesn't believe me, but I totally manifested my husband. Like, he's a skeptic. That's why, that's one of the reasons why I love him, because he's like, are you sure? And like, I have a lot of fun with it, but it's like, I made a list of 100 very specific things that I wanted in a man. All right. Very specific things. And I made this list as a result of a failed engagement when I was in my early 20s, and it was not right. It was, and that was kind of like, that was sort of like the catalyst for where I am now. But it inspired me to make a list of, okay, well, I didn't want to marry that dude. So what kind of dude do I want to marry? And so, here comes my husband into my life, and he, we actually went through the list together, and it was like, I think he nailed them all, but 3 of them. I think there were and I can't even remember what those 3 are. But yeah, it's just, so I tell him, I'm like, yeah, so I made this list, and here you came right into my life. And
you met your husband in a motorcycle club together?
Oh yeah, we sure did. Yeah, we did.
Awesome.
But, yeah, most people think that we met in college, because he went to CU Boulder as well. But he's 5 years older than I am. So he graduated in the spring of 2004, and I started college as a freshman fall of 2004. We both attended the College of Engineering and Applied Science at CU Boulder. He got a degree. He got his degree in computer science, and my degrees. I have a bachelor's degree in architectural engineering and a master's degree in civil engineering. And my area of expertise is structural engineering, more specifically steel design. So anytime you see steel beams, girders, stuff like that, that's what I do. Mm-hmm. And so most people are like, oh yeah, you guys met in college. You both, like, no, we met. Yeah, we met at, I was at a Halloween party at him and his then roommate's house. At the time, I was dating the president of that particular motorcycle club, and him and I are still friends. And so him and I met first, and we started dating, and, and he's quite a bit older than me. So I was 24. And so he was in his late 30s. I think he may have even been 40. I thought he looked younger and acted younger. He wasn't this old dude, but anyway, so, he's like, hey, cause I love motorcycles, and, we got to talking, and, so, well, I'm the president of this motorcycle club, and, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's go for a ride and all that. And so he introduced me to the club, and I'm still friends with a lot of those people today. And so at the time, I think they were doing it every year, but there was a Halloween party at Dan's, my husband. Dan was living in this house with his then roommate, and, they had this party, and that's where I met Dan. So I met my husband while I was dating the president. I met them in the motorcycle club while I was dating the president of the motorcycle club. And then, what?
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I wanted to back up for a second, because you talked about being engaged, and then you broke that off. And I know, and part of that break off was because he didn't approve of your selling, being a salesperson, and having for what your company is now for sex toys. Of course, you didn't have your company then.
Yeah, that was
a little bit about that, and how supportive, because you said your whole family knows that you have this company, and so tell us a little bit about your company and how your family and your husband are supporting you through that.
Oh gosh, I've got people in my family who are clients. I mean, it's listen, give me your money. I actually care about you. Keep the money in the family. So engineered erotics, Engirotics is short for engineered erotics. I founded it in July of 2016. And that was after a, 10, 12 year journey of, I had spent some time in the world of direct sales. So I did sex toy parties. And that was that, and I'll take it back to, the engagement, but yeah, so I had a lot of experience, had gotten a lot of experience in the world of direct sales. Of course, I had a lot of experience as an engineer in industry. Engerotics is not a direct sales company. Like, we don't have consultants. We don't do parties or anything like that. But my time in direct sales was the, foundation. Like, it gave me all the tools and the material that I needed to, figure out what I wanted to do, after. My husband, he's super supportive. Like, I always tell people, he's on my R&D team. Like, he's there helping me test things out for science, science.
For science.
It's like, the thing about my husband, Dan, is that he's a very secure man. He's got a very strong sense of self and security in who he is. He does not need your approval. He does not need your permission. He does not care. Like, he's going to be who he is. And he just does not give a damn about like what people think of him or who likes him or whatever. He's an introvert. And so he keeps to himself already. Like, he doesn't really put a lot of stake into, I got to have all these friends. Like, he's like, cool. If you want to be my friend, cool, but otherwise I'm just cool over here, reading my book. And he's always been very supportive. Like, he's brutally honest too, like, lovingly so. But I know that he is the person, if I, hey, I had this idea, what do you think? And he just thought it, he would be the first person to tell me, yeah, Raven, that's not a good idea. Like, don't do that. And we've never had that conversation about Engerotics. We've never had that conversation about Faber Anderson development and design. We didn't have that conversation when I decided I was done in the corporate world because it was so miserable. I was so miserable. And I just didn't know what else to do but quit. So he's always been very supportive. My family, my mom is really supportive. My grandmother is very supportive. I grew up in a very sex positive
Is your grandma
home.
a client?
Yes, my grandmother, yes. So she is a big fan of our soothing salve stick, which is CBD infused, and she is in her late 70s now. And so, she had like a major back surgery a couple years ago, and my grandfather had he's had a couple of heart attacks and neck surgery. And she has not really wanted to, she doesn't want to deal with narcotics if she doesn't have to. And so she uses our CBD products a lot. Now, I don't ask questions. Like, I know what we make our products for. I don't really care if you want to listen, yeah, grandma here, both of my grandmas actually, they're my paternal grandmother and my maternal grandmother.
No.
Very, very, very supportive. And they tell other people about the business and what we do as well. Like, they, hey, you got to go holler at Raven, she's got all this, but, my grandmother and my mother, both of my grandmothers and my mother, very sex positive people, talking about sex, discussing it, asking questions. It's never really been a taboo thing. And so, going back to that relationship in college, I've always been a liberated woman, I like sex. I enjoy sex. I think that I truly believe that sex is the glue that helps hold your relationship together. Now, of course, this doesn't apply in which, you have two people who are asexual, that's a completely different thing. That's different. But we're talking about people who have a sexual drive and fall into that realm. You can often gauge, how a relationship is going by okay, well, how's the sex? How frequent is the sex? Is the sex there? Because sex is something that is very powerful, both in a positive way and a negative way. Sex can be used as a weapon. Sex is often weaponized. People are shamed over sex, there's stereotypes surrounding sex. So it is a really powerful thing, that is important within any relationship to pay attention to. So I've always enjoyed sex. And, in my previous relationship, it was I'll put it like this. He was very conscious of how other people would perceive him. And he wanted for people to view him a certain way. And I'm kind of like my husband, Dan. I just don't really, I don't care. Like, I'm going to be who I'm going to be. And it's like, as I've gotten older, I'm 34 now, like, as I've gotten older, like, I care less and less. Like, I remember being like, for example, in my early 20s, like, oh, I'm going to go out and run errands, go to the grocery store, let me get my makeup on and, get looking cute so I can go out. Now I'm 34, we're in a pandemic. I got 2 little ones. I'm like, listen, I just want to go out and get some fresh air. I don't even care. Like, I'll shower when I get home. Like, don't care. And, so I'd say that I've always had a very strong sense of self. And so when you're partnered with somebody who does not have that, a secure person partnered with an insecure person, that can be really troublesome. Because a secure person, their validation is intrinsic. It comes from within. They don't need somebody else to tell them that they're great because they already know. I also happen to be an Aries, so I think I'm fabulous. You and
I have so much in common, Raven.
Like, I don't need people's permission, but for someone who is very aware, hyper aware of how, they want to like put up this facade and this front so that people will view them a certain way, whether it's like they want, other people to think that they're sexy or successful or rich or whatever. It's, you're looking for external validation. You're looking for other people. You need other people to see you in a certain way so that you can feel good. And I've always been like, well, listen, I'm this way and this is what I'm going to project, this is what people are going to see, and they can either get on board or not, And so, it was a very painful experience. And granted, there are a lot of other red flags. That, I'd say they were not fair to me. And it was very hurtful, and very painful. And it was like, when somebody's trying to like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, that sucks. And so, I was, so this would have been 2008, spring of 2008. It was my senior year of college and I was finishing out my bachelor's degree. I went to a sex toy party. And, and I had a blast. I spent money that I was not supposed to be spending that money. It was supposed to be for groceries or something. But I'm like, this is great. And so that's when I became acquainted with the direct sales world. And mind you, I never had a desire to sell makeup or, it's like, I didn't really, I didn't want to do clothing or purses, candles, whatever. Like that never appealed to me. But, I really loved going to, fascinations, love going to sex shops. I still love erotica very much. Like sexy stories, Skinamax movies, stuff that's tittillating, burlesque, all of that stuff. I'm like, this seems really cool. Like, what if I did this? That'd be cool. And so I did, I looked it up online, after the party. Never wanted to host a party of my own. I wanted to jump into making money. And, And so, my fiance at the time had a key to my apartment because we're serious. Right. And, and he sat down to, use my computer, which was no problem, but I had all that stuff pulled up. And when I got home, oh man, now it was an argument. And so, and I was just like really perplexed. He was just like, you can't do this. You can't do this. Like, what are you doing? You can't do this. I'm like, I want to make extra money. I want to make some extra money. Like, what is wrong with making extra money? He's like, well, if you need extra money, why don't you sell your car? I'm like, sell my car? Are you crazy? What? I'm going to sell my car? Like, what? I need that thing, But one of the things that I will not forget, and I have not forgotten, is we're sitting in my living room and I'm like, what exactly is wrong with this? Everybody has sex. Sex is good. You seem to enjoy it. What the hell is the problem? Like, why can I not like sell these things so other people can get off? And he looks at me and he says, it's lewd and it's shameful. And you may as well be selling drugs. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Okay. Like, that's like, I've never forgotten. Now I was,
So he had some deep seated issues there, it sounds like, of his own.
Deep stuff. And here's the thing. At the time, I'm 21. I was about to be 22. And you don't know what you don't know. Like, I look back on that now, and it's like, there's a lot of things that have happened to me in my life where I'm like, man, that really sucked. But the way that person acted, the way that person treated me, it really wasn't about me. It was about them. It didn't have anything to do with what I was, it was about them and their hangups and their issues. And at 21, I didn't really know all of that. I just knew it was more like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you what? Don't tell me what to do. That is not what this is. And honestly, so it was, I kind of reached my breaking point because, we're talking about getting married and spending our life together, having children together, having a house together forever and ever. And I'm like, is this who I no, this is I don't want to be in a situation where I can't be who I am. How can you sit down and look at me and say, Raven, I love you one moment, and then turn around and say, except for this, 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 and this, Now, my current husband, my current husband will go on whatever freaky deaky adventure I want to go on. He's here for the freaky deek. I told him when we started dating, I'm like, hey, I've got some proclivities. And he's like, whatever it is, I'm on board, I'm ready, And so, back in college, it was I realized, did I think I wanted to, I was excited to be married. And, and I think if I remember correctly, we even, broke up and got back together a time or two trying to make it work, but it was a very unhealthy dynamic. So shortly after him and I broke up, and it was painful. It wasn't I didn't want to be friends. I didn't and we're in Boulder, mind you. And, so it's and he was also in the College of Engineering and Applied Science. And so it wasn't he disappeared. We still saw each other in passing, but man, I was just I see you, but you are I look straight through you, and I didn't want to be friends. I didn't want to, I was just done. No. And so it was a very, very ugly and painful breakup for both of us. Looking back, I think both of us could have handled it better. But when you're in your early 20s and you're going through a lot of pain, you don't know what you don't know. If, it would be a different experience, at 34 as opposed to 21, 22. But that was a very pivotal moment, so, I broke off this relationship, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting married, but I can still go over here and sell vibrators. So there's that. And what I thought would be a 1.5, 2 year adventure just to last through grad school turned into an entire decade of doing this. And that is what put me on the path to be where I'm at now. I learned, I became very acquainted with the fine art of sales. That's how I learned how to sell. It's how I learned about vendor events and trade shows, materials. It's how I started learning about the science outside of the education that the home office would provide. I didn't know that, everything that I was doing, making that decision, it put me on a path, unknowingly, that, it was I was going to be a CEO and founder one day of a SexTech company.
Were you looking at those products, and one day did you just have this aha moment of I'm an engineer and I can make this better, and let me see what I can do to do that? Or how did that come about?
Yeah, pretty much. It's you'd be surprised, how many things could be, better designed if they just had, maybe a different O-ring, around the base to help make it keep the water out, or, better battery terminals or what have you. And that doesn't even scratch the surface, because there's things like toxic materials, subpar wires, things like that. Sex toys aren't regulated. Neither is CBD. There are no design standards, nothing like that. So there's nothing in place to hold manufacturers accountable for safety and quality. And, engineers, by profession, we're here to help keep the public at large safe. It's why, like, I mean, of course there are natural disasters and buildings fall down, like these things happen, but you're building, like your house isn't caving in on you right now. Like you're not being electrocuted, when you turn your blender on or whatever. It's like, there are rules by which we design, rules by which engineers design, and there really aren't any rules in the world of intimacy devices and CBD. So yeah, like I was like, that's pretty much what it was. Like there were, and not all the products that I was offering were, I don't think any of them were bad. And just like, seeing some of them, and I'm just like, well, no wonder this is like, maybe it doesn't like turn on all the time, or maybe it just feels a little flimsy in your hand, or maybe the button is not really functional, like all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, hey, I'm an engineer. I mean, like, why don't I just start my own company? But between the time that I had that realization and the time that I actually did it was probably, I don't know, I think maybe 2 or 3 years. So, I mean, when I first started thinking about this in the very beginning, I didn't even know, like, I didn't know Engirotics was, I had no name, didn't have a business. So I didn't even know what it looked like. I just knew like, well, maybe I should start that one day. Maybe, one day, maybe I should do that. And, and I tinkered around with stuff and, poured silicone and played with motors and all kinds of stuff, but I didn't really have anything concrete. That didn't come until the beginning of 2016, after my son was born. So yeah, I mean, it was just like, I bet I can make one of these, and I bet I could do it better. So yeah.
We were just talking before you came on, and we're looking, Corey actually had your website up, and she was looking at some of the different products. And tell us about, like, because I guess this never really crossed my mind. I just never thought about it. Like you have lotion, or you have with CBD for pain, or you give, like, they even have dog treats for CBD for relaxation. I never thought that, you could put this into your intimacy products, and how does that work, and what is the benefit of that?
You can totally put CBD in your vagina. You can put it in your butt, like you can put it on a penis, like you can put it anywhere. So a lot of people, when people think of CBD, they think of like pain and suffering. So like
that's
a lot
exactly
of times
what I was thought.
They'll be like, that's great, you're into CBD, but I don't have any pain. And I'm like, well, that's great, but do you have sex? So the thing about CBD is that it does a lot to enhance the sexual response cycle. And, and disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, and we never make medical claims. Of course, we can all read the studies and the anecdotal evidence. So we can't tell people, like we would never tell people, use our products. It's going to like cure you of everything that ails you. And, it's one of the things that I was jokingly, but
so
not really.
So you don't have on the back of the bottle, it says guaranteed orgasms every time?
No, absolutely not. I mean, oh no. I mean, for, your mileage may vary. Maybe that's what we should put on there, because, we're all like, people are not, monolithic. Like we're, we could have a group of women and we all have the same anatomy more or less. But and I'm talking about, cisgendered women, but, within that group, you might have cisgendered women that are going through menopause. You might have cisgendered women who just had a hysterectomy. You might have cisgendered women in that group that have vaginismus and vulvodynia, and all of those different things, like, create a different experience when it comes to sex. And then you might have, branching out, you might have, somebody who has transitioned and started living their truth as a woman. And, and maybe they have, completed top surgery, but they're still, anatomically intact and they haven't transitioned there. What does that look like? So when it comes to using CBD, there are a lot of different ways to use it. And there isn't one way, like one specific way. You have to use it in the way that, that suits your needs, suits your gender identity, suits your sexuality, where you reside in that realm, because we all have different bodies. We're all built differently. We all have different hormone levels. In the case of, somebody who's in transition, maybe they're on testosterone, maybe they're on estrogen, and what happens, like when you get a boost of estrogen, like, you take birth control or something, like it changes how things operate. So the thing that I tell people is to, keep an open mind. In general, what CBD can help do is to enhance the situation by, for some people it increases sensitivity. For other people, it helps create longevity and, have a longer, more pleasurable sexual experience. Other people find that they have certain conditions and maybe it seems to help with that. I'm keeping it vague because, I don't want, like, Raven said it was going to cure me of my cancer, like that's not the case. But I tell people, do your research, do your due diligence. Yes, you can use it as a lubricant. Yes, you can use it for foreplay. Yes, you can apply it to the clitoris. You can use it for anal sex. There are all kinds of different things that you can use it for. CBD content, whether it's isolate, distillates, full spectrum, that jives differently with different people. So it's really hard to just like say, okay, well, this is going to do this for you. And this is going to do this for you. Because the truth is that I really don't know specifically how it's going to interact with your body. All I know is that it's formulated to be safe for your body. And I know that it's formulated to be pleasurable. So about the only thing that I know is that you're going to enjoy the hell out of it when you use it, whether it, helps you, get more aroused, whether it helps you relax, whether it helps, relax your muscles or, because it works differently for different people, men and women alike. So it's really interesting. And that's just with topicals. I mean, we don't do ingestibles. We don't do vape or anything like that, but that's a whole different thing. When you like, say you do a sublingual tincture before sex or you vape CBD before sex. I mean, that's being taken into your body in a completely different way. And that's a whole, so people experience different effects and experiences based on, whether it's topical versus inhaled or what have you. So, but yeah, all of our stuff is topical. We've got a lot of lovely things. It's, it's great. And of course I can never guarantee anything, but I mean, I get a lot of emails talking about great orgasms. So, I mean, I'm not even going to lie. I mean, yeah, I get a lot of emails and, messages over Facebook and Instagram and such saying, hey, like that O Nectar massage oil, like, yes, like I am a believer, so it's really one of those things where, we've done the science and we've put in the work to ensure that it's safe for you. And we've, we've taken great care to, make sure that our ingredients are clear and to make ourselves accessible to answer any questions or concerns. But then you take that product and it's like, go to town, have fun, and let us know how it helped you. Did it help you? But yeah, so CBD is lovely for sex. Not enough people know that CBD can be so beneficial for sex. It's awesome.
Well, tell us, before we get wrapping up here, how can people find you? How do people find your products? Tell us where people can find all that information and just learn more about you.
We're really easy to find. I mean, you might want to edit that out. And like engineerederotics.com. It's engineerederotics.com. I'll email it to you, and that way you can, whatever.
We'll put it on our website. Yep. We'll put it on our website. Well, thank you so much.
So it's probably easier just to, thank you. And we're on Instagram too. We're on Instagram and Twitter. We have a private Facebook group as well. But, really, if you go to the website, engineererotics.com, you'll see all of our social media handles and whatnot. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing your time, because it sounds like you're a very big woman, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come meet us. And, hopefully one day we'll be able to all meet in person. It's kind of a weird time. But
yeah, no.
Oh, you know what? Before we go, I do have one quick question.
Yeah.
Has your sales gone up?
Yes.
Since people have been
yes.
I was wondering.
Yes.
I'm like, people have been at home alone a lot.
Yeah, it's been insane. We've been very, very busy. So yeah, it's been crazy.
Well, I'm glad COVID was able to do something positive for you.
Yeah, well, you've got to look for the silver lining somewhere. I mean, honestly, like, I'm thankful. I miss what my life was before, but I'm gonna take what I have and make the best of it as best I can. So, I mean, what else can you do?
That's yeah, and it sounds like you're bringing some smiles to people at home as well. So you're doing good. You're doing good.
I need that next stimulus check to come in, and then I'm going on your website.
Well, we'll be here. I mean, we're not going anywhere. We're all just kind of stuck at home, and like, hey, what should we make next? So I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed my story, and there's a lot to it. So
absolutely. I mean, I think that you're an inspiration, totally, for just believing in yourself, and believing that you can do things. And we just really appreciate your time. Yeah, thank you.
Believe and you shall achieve.